default, and otherwise we'll just have to find out as we go. And looks like our runners are starting. Our runners today are Owens and Mr. Scruffton's Tuner, and I believe we have about 9 or 10 other runners. So since our runners are already starting, I am Evolving Ocelot, and I'm joined on comms today by Etna. How are you doing, Etna?
I'm doing well, thank you very much. So standard start, but it looks like we have a pendant on Desert. We also have one of our 5/6 crystals on Hera and a regular crystal on Eastern.
That is a very messed up guard outside the castle, and that's another messed up guard, and also one on the ramparts. I've never seen the guards messed up like that before in a standard start.
Right, so that's probably our little hint right there that we may actually have an overworld Randomizer.
You have a sword from the uncle, which I'm guessing was guaranteed, so this is looking to be a casual start rather than standard start.
Yes, and walking through this hallway, we can see the fact that, it's going to be an overworld Randomizer.
Yeah, we've got Stealthless Knights in the sewers. That's real pleasant.
But mind you... Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh my, these enemies are severely messed up here.
Now, we do have at least the confirmation of overworld change. We do not yet know about any of the bosses, and we're not going to see that until any of our players actually attempt to take down one of the bosses of the dungeons.
So we've got Thieves and Gorias in the left tunnel as well as the moving spike. This is looking to be a particularly unfriendly start. The friendly mystery is proving to be a bit of a misnomer here. But this Octorok is really friendly. Easy small key.
Right, but mind you, with these settings though, how the enemies hit could potentially be normal hit ratio instead of it being increased. Same thing with their health. So they may not go ahead and hit as hard as we may find in other kind of Randomizers. Same thing with their health. So this could actually be a little bit of an advantage to our runners, depending on where obviously some of these enemies actually spawn.
I've got an Armos guarding the small key in here. That's a bit annoying. Slightly more annoying than the regular blue guard to kill. Scruff gets a slightly more efficient kill on the Armos by bouncing against the statue for a double hit with the spinning sword. And yeah, it looks like our runners are we have got our stream synced up a bit. So he's slightly behind coming into the basement here. We've got a moving spike. No. Too big a deal because it's in a friendly angle, and a Hinox. Owen's showing some good knowledge here. Bombs will one-shot a Hinox, whilst Scruffton's Tuner is preserving his bombs and just going for 8 hits with a sword.
Ooh, and Scruff takes a death right outside, and he's going to have to start all the way back and do that climb one more time.
Yeah, the Goomba did get squished. So yes, I believe the vanilla game actually tells you that the bombs that the Hinoxes throw can be thrown back at them for a one-shot, but your own regular bombs will do the trick, and given there was 3 in that chest in the Uncle Sewer, you've got plenty of bombs to work with for the escape sequence.
Right, he may have been holding on to them though, in case, not only for the escape sequence, but for Kakariko Village as well. Although it probably would have been a good call just to use one, just, as you said, kill it. It's an easy shot, and then move on from here.
Hinoxes are real dangerous enemies. The game normally expects you to be in the Dark World when you first encounter one, and you will have plenty of heart containers, and you can take a hit from them. But in this case, when you're running in a free heart containers, you get one shot. And yeah, using a bomb there would have saved Scruff Ninja Tuner to death, because this death has cost him a lot of time. He's got to go all the way to the back of escape again and go back down, whilst Orange is making his way into the back portion of escape.
Right, and with this back portion, by the way, if Orange does die, he will at least have Zilda. He'll restart back in this portion here. Versus actually, if you haven't gone into the back of escape yet and you die, you have to once again go down and grab Zelda and do that climb all over again.
So that particular room back there, which is normally filled with I was about to say that particular room wasn't too bad, but that is a Oh,
That's
the name's skipping
Lionel.
me now. Lionel, yeah, Lionel.
That'll hurt.
Yeah, they definitely hurt. They're probably the most dangerous enemies in the game.
We definitely want to say no to a hug from that Lionel, and that mini Helmasaur as well.
Yeah, the back of Escape is generally filled with weak rats and bats, generally called keys and ropes. But in this case, we've got fire bars, we've got tektites, we've got berries, the red floating jellyfish there. Also, quite a few Gorias popping up, the mimics. I think they're called Gorias. I might be incorrect on that.
I believe that they are. But you know what? At least, hey, we had a calm room here, which is definitely appreciated versus seeing that Lionel.
Orange uses their last remaining bomb to go out for North X here to try and get past the swarm of enemies there, which included a thief and a... the enemy names are slipping me again. It's difficult to remember all the names. Oh, this is nasty. We've got red guards all the way back in the final room here.
And having that bomb
Beamos, that was it. Beamos.
Yeah, Beamos. And now that, pulling that trigger, the lever too, while constantly being bombed, that's not nice.
So Orange takes a save and crit out for Sanctuary, and I imagine they're probably going to go left here and farm some bombs. Nope, proving me a liar.
Nope,
Looks
maybe.
like they're gonna...
there we go. Yep, gonna do the splash. I'm gonna turn in the mushroom instead. Scruff, by the way, did take a death, and as you saw, you restart, having to go through the entire back of Escape once again. But at least this time he had Zelda, so he didn't have to go through and grab Zelda and do that entire process.
Yeah, Scruff having a real rough time here in Escape. I don't see him getting out before the 8:30 mark, so he's going to be about 2 minutes behind Orange coming out for back of Escape. And that's a Cicada of Samaya behind the mushroom. Definitely necessary.
Oh yeah, that's definitely something that you really want to see early, because that opens up our icebreaker, and it also opens up our diver down. More importantly, our icebreaker, because diver down can be done with a bomb, but icebreaker can only really be done with a Cane of Samaria.
I tell a lie about the Cane of Samaria being necessary. There is a really small chance it can not be needed if you, say, never need to go into Mizumai or Turtle Rock or go onto the right side of GT, but it's such a small chance that it's like, you're generally going to want it all of the time, and especially with all the new sequence breaks that you talked about, like the icebreaker and dive down. It's just so useful for making Ice Palace that much quicker and easier.
Right, and you can use it for other things too, like the blind fight. You can actually use it to do an extra point of damage instead of using your sword. It's an incredibly useful item.
Anyway, as I was initially expecting, Orange was taking the time to go left of Link's house there and go farm up some bombs from south of the grove. There's 2 bushes there that have a 50-50 chance of dropping a bomb. And if you're me, you'll probably spend about a minute there trying to farm bombs and getting nothing. But in Orange's case, he does get the bombs pretty quickly.
And Orange is now, not Orange, Scruff is now making his way to get out. And he's going to see those 2 guards and hopefully try and take him down without taking too much damage.
Luckily, the left guard doesn't seem to notice him, so he just takes out the bomb-throwing one and is out without any more hassle caused to him. So, yeah, Orange finishes his escape with about a 6:20, and Scruff and Tune is about 2 minutes further behind. So those deaths were a big time loss for him. Real unfortunate.
Right, but Orange did pick up the lantern, which does mean that we do not have to worry about any dark rooms. Lantern being actually in the back of the tavern or the bar. Makes it really, really nice. I mean, yeah, these runners can go through these dark rooms without any kind of an issue, but having that, not need to worry about it is definitely a relief.
Lamp or probably strictly optional in regular seats, but in Randomizer almost completely necessary just for your for your health and well-being.
Oh yeah, especially once we get into dungeons like Eastern, and we go into Eastern's dark room. Yeah, it's going to be completely, depending on what they see back there. Looks like Ledge, by the way, for Lumberjack Ledge, only has a piece of heart.
Yes, but we also have a power glove in the world for orange. And
And a
also a
bow.
bow. Very nice.
So that means that Eastern is now completely in logic for us, which is a nice crystal. Though we don't know whether or not we have fast cannon. We need 7 crystals. In fact, we don't even know if we need to actually get any of the crystals. We could have a pedestal seat at this point.
We have got a moon pearl in the Thieves' hideout. So quite a lot of really nice items coming in for our runners. I imagine with that bow and lamp, we will probably be seeing some early Eastern Palace dips. Although there are a lot of enemies in certain rooms in Eastern Palace, and that can be pretty dangerous. There's a fire rod in the basement of Blind's hut as well.
Right. So we have all of our fire sources.
And an ice rod.
Ice rod. Okay. So if we find the right medallion, we could see a very easy enough turtle rock.
I'm going to confess, the last time I saw both of the rods together like that, it was on Laser Bridge in Turtle Rock. So having them in early game is a much nicer double combo.
Oh, yeah. Scruff, by the way, taking the fish over to the bottle vendor where he can actually go and get some more items. Money, bombs, arrow, and magic refill.
Real good shout to Scruffy because you can grab fish from in the regular game and give him to the bottle fender, but it's difficult to get a fish. But if you've got a fish popping up randomly in the world close to a bottle fender, just bring it over. Get a nice drop of ammunition and supplies.
Right. Scruff now going to go ahead and get both of his rods. And then once he finishes up, Kakarika will have the Titan's mitts as well. The power glove as well as the cane of Samaria.
Now, since he has that moon pearl, I imagine he will be doing a regular South Shore check and then do a fake flipper into the Sora area. Check that out. Also hand in the mushroom at the same time. So that could work out well for him. He could save himself a little bit of time there.
Right. I do actually have to correct myself on something. If he turns in the mushroom, he will get the cane of Samaria.
Yes. But yeah, that moon pearl will allow him to get into the waterfall cave if he chooses to do a fake flipper due to strange item logic with the way the game handles items. If you don't have a moon pearl but you're doing fake flipper, you can't actually get in the waterfall cave.
You can if you have boots and you're able to actually run on the water.
Yeah. If you set up a water walk, you can get in. But if you're doing regular fake flippers, then you can't get in without a moon pearl. It's a strange quirk in the item logic. The orange here farming up some rupees from the Chris Houlihan cave, probably looking to do a early Zora check. Probably also thinking with that moon pearl, they want to go do a fake flipper into the waterfall cave and also go check out King Zora at the same time.
I mean, you might as well, if you're routing into that area, you might as well get it all done at the same time. You're going to clear out Mini Moldorm Cave, Ice Rod Cave, and then at that point, probably Hobo and all them. Might as well go through the entire route if you can.
Scruff Ninja Tuna grabs his lamp and is about to finish up his Kakarika check, so if he chooses to go to South Shore straight after this, he's not going to be really that far behind Orange. So he's making up a bit of a time for his unfortunate escapades in Escape. Excuse the pun. He's getting stuck on the door but to the library. Well, that is half magic on the library. I did not notice that before.
Half magic being, of course, something that our runners, necessarily could use, but don't really need. But Orange picking up the net, which is going to be really, really nice in case he ends up needing some of the bottles, if he doesn't get actually any mail upgrades.
Yeah, if you can grab powder somewhere, considering that anti-fairies and bubble beams could be popping up pretty much anywhere, being able to generate fairies and catch them for bottles, it would be a really good thing. Looks like we've just got mini Helmosaurs in the mini Moldorm cave. You can just knock those down into the pit. Super easy. Boots in mini Moldorm cave.
So we are probably going to see water walking instead of your traditional fake flipper, which is going to be nice. Going to save them a little bit of time.
And we've also got our first bottle there, so that unlocks 6 kids for when our runners decide to go back to Kakariko. Oops, accidentally jumps into the water, and there are guards everywhere here by Lake Hylia.
Which only really helped them, seeing as when you come out of the water, you're invulnerable for a couple of seconds, so that little hug from that guard didn't do anything.
And the regular crabs that would be there that deal 2 hearts of damage are replaced by those tentacled beasties from the Dark World, which do 4 hearts of damage. So that's probably a worse trade-off. At least they're not as fast as crabs. Crabs move fast when they're going sideways. Orange not choosing to set up... Okay, they're going to set up a water walk from here. Yeah, there we go.
Scruff kiting the guard so he can finally get inside.
Taking a quick peek at the Lake Hylia Island, we've got 50 rupees. We're not going to need the mirror for that.
And Hobo gives us a piece of heart, but Scruff is now catching up, getting his bombs, his bottle, and more importantly, his boots.
He's on 1 heart left though, he's got to be careful. In fact, he's he goes to the left a little bit so he can set up a proper dash to keep himself safe. He shouldn't run into any troubles here in the eastern north portion though. Now, Orange is back in fake flipper status from checking the hobo, and that is a green guard rushing for him, but it luckily gets stuck on the... that fuzzy pickle there, let's just call it a fuzzy pickle, because if you touch off your sword, you're going to get a big fuss, but anyway, as I was trying to say, if you touch an enemy and take damage whilst you're in fake flipper status, you will die. And that's
Right.
a change that's done in the randomizer, because if you were to take damage if you're doing fake flippers in the vanilla game, you would just get yourself in a soft lock status. So to avoid the soft lock, the randomizer will just kill you instead. So generous.
And by the way, it looks like the fairy gives us a B, so we exchanged a B for another B.
Lots of generosity coming in here. That is a blue male on the Sora ledge. Now, I think I should be able to grab this with the water walk. I think you need to have a double water walk stored. It's a technique that I've seen once before, but I forget how it's pulled off. But if you store a double water walk, you can grab that item on the ledge. So, but looks like Orange is back into swimming status, so they're not going to be able to grab that blue male. Bit unfortunate.
But it looks like what he may be attempting to set himself up for is going to be a splash delete, which will allow him to get down below and grab that actual male upgrade.
Yeah, having the Cane of Samaya and bow so early, we can have some splash deletes here. So he's going to get enough sprites on the screen that the game runs out of memory to generate the splash sprite. And if you don't splash, you start swimming. Yeah, so Cane of Samaya blocks some arrows and a bomb take care of it. And Orange is able to get down and grab that blue male. Really nicely done.
And it looks like, by the way, Scruff actually did end up taking a death. So he's not going to be going along the exact same route as Orange. But it looks like at this point he is going to turn in his mushroom and he's going to get himself a Cane of Samaria.
Scruff having a real rough time with the mystery seed so far. Luckily, it looks like we're dealing with, judging from the amount of heart containers and pieces of heart we grabbed already, we are dealing with regular health settings, so our runners will be able to tank up and muscle through all these high damage enemies. In the back of Sahazar's hut, we have a piece of heart, Titan's Mitts, and Hookshot. That's Dark World access.
That is not only Dark World access, that's also going to be a potential run up for Death Mountain, because we can at least get on the right side of Death Mountain. And what we can also do while we're over there is explore the dark side of Death Mountain as well.
Indeed, there's plenty of juicy items to grab on Death Mountain now, and the only place that's really blocked off is going to be Tower of Hera.
Unless we can find ourselves either a mirror or, if we're fortunate enough, and we find ourselves a hammer as well. Looks like Scruff is also trying to do a splash delete as well.
He's not having much luck. He's only got one bomb left, and I think he's trying to save it. So he's giving up on the waterfall cape for now.
So based on what we've seen,
He's not happy about that blue mail.
based on what we've seen, what do you think the chances are that we're going to run into a boss shuffle as well?
Well, I believe judging from the friendly mystery settings, it is a 10% chance of boss shuffle. I can just pull them up quickly again. Okay, yeah. So with boss shuffle, we could have a random bosses, a 20% chance, full boss shuffle, which would be 10% chance, and simple boss shuffle, which would be also 10% chance. And otherwise, it's 60% chance of no boss shuffle whatsoever. So chances are we're not going to be dealing with a boss shuffle, but we will see at the end of Eastern Palace what we are dealing with. And if we are dealing with some kind of boss shuffle, I am going to say this is the complete opposite of friendly mystery seed.
Scruff Ninja getting his last bomb stolen from him from a thief, and he does not have any money to buy any more.
Yeah, he had exactly 500 for King Zora. That's a flute in the big chest of Eastern Palace. Very nice.
Ooh, especially since now we can go and check Meyer out, and on top of that too, we can just in general get around the world a lot easier.
Yeah, so he's missing out on a bit of health, and he's obviously missing out on that blue mail, but this shouldn't penalize him too much because he is going to get his big accessibility items here.
Right, and by the way, it does look like our green pendant is on Ice Palace.
That's not pleasant. Yeah, that hookshot is proving super useful here. It's one of the best items for just stunning nasty enemies that get in your way. So guards getting in your way, just hookshot them and move on. It's a super useful survival tool.
Right, and it also allows us to... Oh, the only thing I was going to say is also is one of the things that allows us to go fast as well.
Now, Orange is going to take that bug net and jump into the patio to grab some fairies for his bottle. One fairy for a bottle and one fairy to top up. Oh yeah, this room gets nasty and enemized, and we see it is filled with moving spikes of all kinds. But luckily, the enemy that you have to grab a small key from will always be killable, and since it is not a Igor, you don't need a bow for that. You can just proceed onwards. Worth pointing out that in Randomizer settings, Eastern Palace, you do not actually need the bow to finish it because the enemies that would generally be Igors here, the red Igor, it can never be a red Igor, so you don't actually need the bow to finish Eastern Palace. And this room is almost vanilla, pretty friendly. That one can be really nasty and Randomizer sometimes. We have got regular armor knights here, so it's looking like we're not dealing with boss shuffle. Now, I could be wrong about that. It could be the Ice Amos, but there's no real way of knowing that until later.
Ruff pulling up his map, by the way, and showing us that the 6th crystal is Pod, and the other pendant is actually Skull Woods.
Okay, now that's not a guarantee that we're going to need all 7 crystals, because this being a mystery seed, we could be dealing with a randomized amount of crystals to go fight Ganon. So to find that out, our runners are going to have to find their way to the front of the pyramid, which they can't get to right now without fake flipper shenanigans, which are possible right now. But unless you get to the front of the pyramid, you're not going to be able to find out what the amount of crystals to fight Ganon is. There's a handy signpost that will tell you how many you need to fight him. There's also a signpost right outside Ganon's Tower that will tell you how many crystals you need to enter Ganon's Tower. And again, this being a mystery seed, we may not actually need to go into Ganon's Tower to fight Ganon. We may just need to get a certain amount of crystals, and then we can just go fight Ganon immediately without needing to go into the tower at all.
Right. So what we really need is our hammer, or if they can do some splash deletion, you can do splash deletion as well. Another thing that you could also do in order to get over there is to defeat Aga 1. And no one, let's be honest here, no one wants to defeat Aga 1 unless they have to.
Scruff tries to start the digging game and doesn't have enough money for it, and he's bonking off a few trees to show his frustration. But we have got the archery game right here. This is a really, really excellent place to farm rupees in inverted seeds, and if you find yourself short of a digging game rupees in a non-inverted seed, you can just get some here. But yeah, with that early cane and bow and with bombs at your disposal, it is really easy to set up a splash deletion. I don't think you'll be seeing any runner do Aga 1 just to get to East Dark World access.
Right. However, at 25 minutes and 56 seconds, the goose is now loose. Let me see some 07s in chat.
Scruff now has enough for the digging game and is making sure to grab some of those starting rupees to top up his supply again. We've got our first kid turn in. It's 20 rupees. Actually, I think Scruff might have done this on his way to Dark World already.
Yeah, but it looks like the digging game is also only giving us 20 rupees as well. Scruff, however, going to be here just to try and collect as much money as he possibly can.
Half magic pickup for Orange is going to be super nice to get that fire rod going and allow you to one-shot a bunch of enemies that would otherwise be quite a bit of a hassle.
And it looks like Scruff is going to go ahead and at least grab the smith so he can set himself up with that chain. But since he was able to get the cape over in Dark World from the chess game, he can go ahead and check Bumper Legend. If something's there, he can grab it.
We've got guards and chickens and lag outside the bumper ledge, and that is just a large heart container, and he's not choosing to go for it because it takes quite a bit of time to grab that. Now, we've got another method of getting into the east side of Dark World coming up on Scruff into Tuna's side here. He's going to try and do something called a kern jump here. At least I presume he is. So he's got to do he's got to grab a bomb and jump off the ledge so that the bomb will knock him into the screen's transition. And if he transitions just like that, it puts him into swimming state.
So now he'll be able to go up to Pyramid and check Pyramid to see what are the actual win conditions.
And possibly grab a useful item over there, if he's lucky. So he's climbing up. You need all 7 crystals to defeat Ganon, and the hole isn't open, so we are going to need to get into Ganon's tower as well.
And we don't have anything important on the ledge of Pyramid, but at least now Scruff knows exactly what he needs.
Yeah, you can't shortcut any dungeons here. You are going to need all 7 crystals. Judging by appendants, I don't think anything can be on a pedestal except a medallion. Ooh, Orange grabs that hammer inside Skull Woods. Very nice.
We could have a medallion. Yeah, like you said, based on how everything looks. For that matter, too, we also could have, and very unlikely, but could be possible that we have Mirror actually on pedestal as well.
If we find a bug
Palace is
somewhere
the
else, yeah, we could have a mirror pedestal, but it's looking pretty unlikely that we have a pedestal seed here.
right. Or the other unfortunate thing for the runners, which is purple chest, ends up being our mirror.
I've seen that before. It's mean. But Scuff Ninja Tune is going to do one part of a purple chest equation and hand in the blacksmith here.
The real question is, how many crystals do we need to open up GT as well? And by the way, Scruff picking up his Master Sword from our Smith Chain. So it looks like Smith Chain was a really good call for him.
Vanilla Sword, you love to see it. Yeah, Orange having grabbed that hammer from the front of Skull Woods. Feasttown is a really good play here for him. He can full clear the dungeon, doesn't have to worry about potentially leaving an item behind in the big chest, and it's a crystal. So you've pretty much got to check everything in here anyway to get to the boss. So this is a step, and he is doing it right now. Oh, this seed has pretty much guards everywhere. It's usually red guards too.
So that's just pointing something out. This is actually pretty interesting. So we had a vanilla sword off of our uncle, right?
Yes.
We also had another sword upgrade off of our smiths, which is another vanilla sword progression. What would you think if our actual sword progression was vanilla?
That pedestal, but you'll probably be seeing everyone grab that Pyramid Fairy sword. Because it's right there on your way to Ganon.
Right, and at this point, at least Scruff knows where the upgrade is, but we'll have to see, because once again, it all depends on when they decide to dive whether they decide to dive Hera as well as our pod.
Now, Orange took a quick peek into the boss room there, just in case he had ice armors in the front of Eastern Palace, but it seems it was regular armors because there was no boss in the boss room here in Thieves Town. If it was some kind of boss shuffle, you would encounter a boss there immediately, and you could just kill it and be on your way. But no boss there, you've got to retrieve a maiden and go find blind like normal.
Right, and another interesting thing, by the way, about boss shuffle, for anyone who decides to do it, Trinex will never use his the blue ice will never actually appear on the floor, just in case he's in a room that the ice physics doesn't actually exist. So you will never ever see that.
Interesting. I never knew that. I presume that would be such stuff like the Morphler room with the conveyor belts.
Well, actually, believe it or not, Trinex cannot be in that room either, just because of the size of that room.
Right.
But it is just in case he's in a room that just doesn't allow that the physics. You know, if he's in, for example, where the Armos Knights are, that room doesn't understand, ice physics. So it's just it's a precautionary measure, and I completely understand it, but it still hurts you if you do get hit by it.
Interesting. I think Scruff Ninja Tune is probably feeling a bit behind here and is going for a gutsy play by going for Morphula.
Right, and mind you, he's also dodging from the Inti Fairy as best as he can as well. Having that Master Sword is going to be nice. I mean, we already did see that Orange also dove in to Skull Woods, but did not continue. Using the Vanilla Sword against what could have been, and we can now kind of confirm, is Morphula, is not a fun fight.
Yeah, this is definitely a gamble for Scruff Ninja Tuner because he hasn't full cleared the front and grabbed his hammer. I don't remember if we saw 2 items in Skullwoods yet or not, but I imagine that there were probably 2 items because Orange just has left the dungeon rather than checking out the back with a fire rod. So I don't think this pendant is going to do very much for Scruff, unfortunately, unless we've got the slim off chance it's a pestle seed, but it's unlikely. And yeah, that's just a map from Morphula.
Right. But he could also be thinking about possibly maybe needing to collect the pendants in case there is something on there, or for a sword upgrade in case he's having a hard time.
Yeah, I think was feeling behind after all the deaths he's taken in the early game, and was just going for a gamble there, Morphulet, just to because it's a play that you wouldn't expect many people to do because it's just a regular pendant. So he was hoping for something there and didn't get anything. So a bit of a time loss for him for now. And Orange took a death there on blind, but luckily having that backup fairy in the bottle comes back to life and gets a kill. So Bugnet already proving very, very valuable here for Orange.
Oh yeah, well, and I mean, the big thing too is you don't really have a shield. On top of that, you're trying to dodge as best as you possibly can. All of the fire shots being thrown at you from blinds, floating heads. Inevitably, it's bound to hurt you. And on top of that, too, Orange is now going to get his one, invincibility item.
Now, there's a way to if you're activating blind in vanilla way by dragging the maiden into the room, there is a way to manipulate blind, it's called well, people call it a script, where you can move your link in various different patterns in the room and completely avoid damage. It is 100% consistent, but it's pretty hard to pull off. But if you do know it, you can do blind with taking no damage whatsoever. But if this was boss shuffle, you could still encounter blind in that room, but it would just be activated immediately, and you would not be able to do the script.
Right. By the way, Scruff also picking up his hammer.
Good that he's not missing that.
So now the only real big difference, obviously, is going to be the fact that Orange does have blue mail and also the flute that we got from Eastern.
Yeah, Scruff is down 2 crystals though, not having gone into Eastern Palace and not having done Thiefstown yet. He's doing his Thiefstown dive now.
Right, those early deaths having a hard time for Scruff. But we get to see what Stumpy currently has for us today.
Big 20.
Only giving us allowance.
Scuffin's Junior giving that hard hat beetle by the chest there a lot of pokes with a Master Sword. They are really tanky, and I believe the bombs can also one-shot those enemies if you were to throw on them, but they are really fast, so it's tricky to actually hit one with a bomb.
It actually wouldn't actually kill it, but it would stun it. I believe that it would take maybe 1 or 2. It would maybe take 2 or 3 bombs, but the one bomb definitely does stun it.
Okay, I just remember that the bombs do greatly increase damage to them.
Oh yeah.
Not too much in the hype cave for Orange, so he's going to make his way towards the pyramid and get his information about his winning conditions.
So it's nice. We still have a question mark and 7 complete. And the reason why we say question mark is because we still don't know what it takes to actually get into GT.
Yeah, we can end up with some ridiculously low number of crystals to enter GT and then have a necessary item like flippers pop up in GT, and that is pretty awful, but it is a possibility.
Right. Actually, for all intents and purposes, too, we could have a 0 and 7 where it actually doesn't require any crystals at all to enter in GT. All you have to do is actually get there. So it could be anything from 0 to 7.
And having that hammer from Skull, which we know we can get to GT now. Scruff takes another death here in Thiefstown and is back to the front again. He's having a real rough time so far.
Yeah, that's the one thing about Randomizer seeds. You get used to how a dungeon runs and where the enemies are and how they move. But when your enemies are all randomized, and on top of that too, you're having all different types of running and kiting that you have to do, it can become kind of taxing on the mind.
Hey, I didn't notice there was actually a thief in Thieves Town.
Oh yeah, no, there was a thief hiding up there, probably guarding the hole to make sure that Blind didn't come out. But we took care of them. It looks like, by the way, the first chest in pod is going to give us our big key.
Yeah, this is another dungeon that Orange can fully clear, get all the items from, get the crystal. And there's many, many items to grab in pod, so good chance that something that we'll need to finish the seed will pop up here.
Right, and because we already got the big key, we also are probably going to see a bomb jump as well. So you're probably gonna see the hammer jump from Orange.
Well, we'll see that in a bit. He's got a few more chests to check out first. And there was a turtle in the wrong room of pod. Right dungeon, wrong room. And, oh, good shout out here. Again, he's going for those fairies. So he's going to go into that right room there, which actually has a few fairies inside. So he's been getting some mileage out of the bug net already, and he's going to get some more mileage.
I mean, at this point, you might as well. Understandably so, with having to deal through a lot of these different enemies, and you only have vanilla sword at this point. It's the weakest sword in the game. Hands down, probably one of the weaker attack weapons that you can have. So just having that extra safety net is going to be nice.
And Scruff Ninja Jr. has had enough of annoying deaths here in his run so far, and is oh no. So those, like I mentioned earlier, those tentacle beasties, I forget the name for it, but they do a lot of damage. I think it's 4 hearts by default. But Scruff runs into some trouble for him and just barely escapes. But he's got that cape out. He doesn't want any of Blind's nonsense. He's just going to slap that cape on and give him a lot of pokes. He hasn't grabbed that half magic from the library yet, but he's got plenty of magic to deal with here. And he's also doing a funny strat where if you grab a wall and pull on it, you don't drain any of your cape magic at all. You typically see that in places like the tire room in GT, or sometimes on Ganon himself. But Juno goes for it in the Blind's room instead and gets his first crystal.
Orange now most likely going to be going to the back of pod. Cleared everything in the back. I actually didn't see if we picked up any map or compass yet.
I didn't see them either, and that is a mean Beamer statue. Could have been worse enemies there, but that could mess up his hammer jump, but he pulls it off. Doesn't even get shot at. That was a really quick setup and execution.
I'll tell you, that Beamos is actually being very, very nice, not shooting at him at all.
I'd say probably 6 times out of 10 in Randomizer, there's a huge yellow spike there that just gets in your way completely. And that would probably make a hammer jump impossible, and usually makes getting past it really, really difficult unless you have an invincibility item in general. But Beamos, not too bad.
Gruff grabbing the purple chest, so we'll be actually able to see whether or not that purple chest contains our mirror.
Yeah, he's feeling really... I guess he's feeling really behind, because he's definitely going for gambly slow checks right now. Going to kill Mothula, handing in the purple chest. This is stuff that not many people have done yet, and he's hoping to get an edge here that will help him catch up time. And that's a lot of big yellow spikes in Harmless Hellray. Harmless Hellray actually being pretty harmful. Now, Scruff has already been to the pyramid, so he's just going to go over to Hype Cave and then take a save and crit here.
Right, and then in the meantime, Orange is going to work his way back to Helmasaur. And then fight that boss and collect another one of his crystals. This one being one of the 5-6 crystals.
The purple chest does not want to go into Hype Cave.
For those who don't know, the purple chest does not like dark places. And it gets very scared. but Rough clearing out a hype cave, collecting his 100 rupees. Now he's got a little bit of cash on him, making it feel nice. We'll probably grab it, grab the chest, save and quit, and then turn it in.
I could see him grabbing a red potion here, if he, considering he's saving quitting to Link's house from the shop just by Lake Hylia.
Right. Just having that extra little bit of health will definitely going to help him, especially since he's having a little bit of a rough go this seed.
But he's not doing that yet. He's going to hand in the purple chest. And he did remember to grab that purple chest again before leaving Hype Cave. If you took the save and quit out of Hype Cave before grabbing the purple chest again, you would be in trouble.
Purple chest only gives us a piece of heart, though.
Unfortunate. He's doing the gambly plays to try and get himself an edge here after all his deaths, but he's not getting an edge. So this is just putting him further behind, really.
Right.
That was a chicken under the rock.
These are, it's come to a point where, and it's kind of like you said, he's trying to catch up as best as he can. And we can all kind of understand at this point, there's a lot that goes through a runner's mind. Trying to catch up, what's the quickest way, if there's something on here. So you do take those chances. Sometimes they pay off and sometimes they don't.
He chooses to detour a little bit after purple chest to go and grab his half magic. Good call.
Orange, by the way, taking down Helmasaur and has collected his 3rd crystal.
Yeah, he knows he needs 7 crystals to fight Ganon at least, so he might as well try and get as many crystals as he know he can get before even venturing up to Ganon's tower and checking how many need to enter that. Well, considering he had access to most of Death Mountain, we haven't seen any place up here. It looks like Scruff is actually going to give us our first look up there. And given that Orange is staying in the Dark World after leaving Paths of Darkness, I reckon they're probably going to be doing a catfish check now. Now, when Orange does decide to go up to Death Mountain, it's going to be really quick for them because they have that flute from the big chest in Eastern Palace. Scruff still hasn't been in there yet. Probably a bit worried about the Randomizer that can pop up there because there can be a lot of enemies in certain rooms in Eastern Palace. But we saw on Orange's side that it was pretty friendly overall. But until he gets to Eastern Palace and gets that crystal there, he's going to be missing out on the flute. But he does get a Quake medallion from the old man.
So that means for our runners that we may have, because we could have Vanilla Turtle Rock for our Quick Medallion. So that could be our way in, or of course it could be either Bombos or Ether. Looks like Catfish, though, is only going to give us a heart container. Orange taking the, Orange is going to go all the way up to Death Mountain now. We'll talk to the old man, collect his Quake Medallion, and then head on over, most likely, to right side of Death Mountain.
₹300 in the bottom of Paradox Cave. So if you had a flute, you could easily go over and grab a blue potion and have... and considering that Scruff has already paid off King Sora with ₹500, he hasn't really got many other monetary concerns about other than getting into Paths of Darkness, which is ₹110. So you can go grab a blue potion now quite freely. It would be nice if you had more bottles. Oh, there's a bottle and it's got a free red potion inside. I'll take that. And another ₹300, so nothing really popping up in Paradox Cave except for probably a very welcome safety.
Right, so after he checks, because he's most likely going to check the top right now of Floating Island and then Spiral Cave. If you were in Scruff's shoes, where would your next position be after possibly Spiral Cave?
I would be heading into Tower of Hell immediately and getting my crystal from there.
Scruff accidentally chasing off the fairy that he was looking to grab.
And then many frustration slashes coming out from him. And he gets hit in the face by a big yellow spike because why not? Orange just kills a regular enemy, and the fairy also gets away from him. And oh,
these Death Mountain fairies do not want anything to do with our runners today. But hey, Scruff picks up a shield over in Spiral Cave.
Yeah, and he's choosing to stay in the light world here, so he's going to head over to Tower of Hera, and oh nope, he's proving me a lie. He's jumping. Okay, he's going to just take the cave down here. Yeah, he's going to head over to Tower of Hera, clear that out, and then maybe head into Dark World. If you can open up Tower of Rock and clear it, then probably go in there as well.
Right, you might as well. On top of that too, when he's out and when he's cleared of Turtle Rock, not Turtle Rock, of Hera, he can go ahead and not only check Turtle Rock while he's up here, but at the same time too, he'd also have the ability to check our GT and see what we actually need in order to get inside of it.
Indeed. So let's see if we are fire locked to begin with. We have got a small key down here.
And even with the way everything progressed too, so they are.
That's a compass. So the big key's going to be in the basement, and Scruff is probably just going to go hairpot to the top instead. If he grabs his dungeon items from the remaining chests out in the basement, then he'll save himself some time.
Right.
Doesn't quite get the hairpot first try.
The other thing too to note is that even though they have fire sources now, they had fire sources early on. So realistically, whether or not they actually came up here was all reliant on the hammer. The fact now that they don't have to worry about it is just an added bonus.
Scruff's biting his bug net there, not catching the other fairy. I think he's still got to be in the bottle. And Orange not picking up another fairy because I think they already have one in their bottle.
Ooh, Scruff trying to go ahead and run through our little bumper, but did not get the right location for it.
Not the worst fall he can take, but a bit of a time loss for him.
However, our runners are basically holding hands while they were running through right before Moldorm.
Yeah, they hit the stairs almost in perfect sync, and that Moldorm has many, many, many eyes. Oh my.
Yeah, that's the one thing about randomizers.
Yeah, I know that Moldorm can have a randomized number of eyes, but I figured that was only in actual boss shuffle. But nope, I guess in randomizer he always has a random number of eyes.
If randomizer is turned on, then he can have a random number of eyes. They always usually happen pairs of 2, but his eyes do change. Our runner's not really having to worry about going down to the bottom of Hera because, well, we know that he was either a map or a compass. Either way, we don't need it.
Orange hasn't done Spiral Cave yet, so they're going to do Spiral Cave and head into the Dark World from the south side of Death Mountain, whilst Scruff Engineer, having already done Spiral Cave, is going to check out Tower of Rock here and see if he can get in or not. And he can get in. This is a dungeon he can clear.
We have a vanilla opening to Turtle Rock. Okay. So our old man actually giving us something that we needed for Turtle Rock, which is a little interesting. But he's going to open it up, and then, yeah, he's going to go and check Super Bunny Cave and Hookshot Cave.
Absolutely. Get yourself more safeties before going in there, because those particularly the Samaya platform rooms where you're going around. There's a lot of enemies that can be there, and there's not really much you can do to avoid them.
Right, and even getting some extra health for that Trinex fight is also a nice thing too.
So nothing really popping up in Super Bunny Cave, unfortunately, but there's 4 checks to get in Hookshot Cave.
Right, and we know that as far as it goes, our runners, even though they do not have mirror, they don't actually even need to worry about that, and it's quite simply because our floating island just had a piece of heart.
Grabbing some pieces of heart from Hookshot Cave, unfortunately not giving Scruff any extra heart containers at this point, and it's just heart pieces and bombs in there. Nothing really that helps him, so he's heading in with 1 less mail than orange because he wasn't able to get the one from the Zora ledge, and a few less heart containers because he hasn't been into the Eastern Palace that orange did. Yeah, so he's missing out on I think a heart container from there and also the flute from Eastern Palace. Orange also taking the time to go into Hookshot Cave before Turtle Rock. And there's an enemy in the wrong room, and it's just kind of stuck there. That's probably the most nice pokey you could hope for.
It looks like Scruff is really not too happy with the fact that he's already doing Turtle Rock on green mail.
Oh no, he misses the torch. I think he can get to it from here. Yeah, he gets it from there. Okay. This is a couple seconds there, but not too bad.
Scruff just having a hard time this seed.
Yeah, luckily for him, there's a full magic refill there, and Scruff takes the fall, unfortunately, and allows the little stuck fire snake there to kind of crawl its way into the path, but since he's got iframes ready, he just gets past it anyway.
Right now,
this room is much easier.
Yes, he does not have to worry about those chain chops. What does that mean? Chain chops could be somewhere else that are going to be really annoying.
We haven't seen any chain chomps at all this seed.
No, but they could be around somewhere. Where haven't we been that chain chops could really be annoying?
I don't know, but I just saw a Wallmaster drop down there by the Gibdos in this pipe room in Turtle Rock, and there's another Wallmaster. So we have got Wallmasters about, and they can catch you out and drag you right to the front of Turtle Rock again. And that is exceedingly awful in Turtle Rock in particular, because it's a long dungeon.
Right, so our runners may actually go ahead and decide, you know what? About those safety doors, we're definitely taking them this seed.
Yeah, we can't get to Mimic Cave right now because we don't have a mirror, so that's going to be feeling pretty awful missing out on that, considering you still need items for go mode. But you'd probably be seeing the safety door anyway because of that Wallmaster.
Oh yeah, no. if you could take a safety door, especially with those masters here, you take that safety door. Because if they pull you, at least they're going to pull you to that safety door.
And most of the other rooms in Turtle Rock are actually proving a lot friendlier than normal. We've got much easier enemies to kill here than you would otherwise regularly see, which would be the 2 Hokobokas, which you could one-shot with Fire Rod. But if they bounce into you, then you take quite a lot of damage, especially on Green Mail. And poor Scruff is getting bullied by the Medusa in there and taking quite a few hits. He does have that red potion, but he's still got a bottle of a bee in it. So it's a golden bee, sure, but I really would have just released that much earlier and called it a fairy. He's got that bug net. At least I think he has that bug net. It was right there, damn.
He actually ignored the bug net, I believe.
Ooh, spiteful.
And instead, since he hasn't gone through Eastern yet, he doesn't have his flute. So for him to go ahead and actually get those potions is going to be a little bit of a time loss on his end.
Yeah. And he skipped out on that bugnet. Oh, that's spiteful. The bugnet is strictly unnecessary, but it could have saved his bacon here multiple times already. We've seen it save Orange's bacon multiple times. And that's why is one reason why Orange is really pulling ahead of Scruff Ninja Tuner here. He's gone for the safe place, and it's been providing value for him. And that value has been not taking deaths that have cost Scruff Ninja Tuner a lot of time.
Right. Scruff, however, still showing his anger and frustration with all of those swipes.
And there is a yellow spike down in the nav bridge inside of Rock, which I think I see almost every single time in Randomizer.
Yep, and here goes the safety cave. So now if Scruff does die, he does not have to traverse the entire way again. But he does get the key on the first chest.
Yeah, and he is opening up the other chests because we are still looking for items. We are... Oh, laser to the face, and he's out of magic. Now, he can grab a full refill from just outside the crossover to Trinex's room. And having half magic, that's not going to penalize him on Trinex at all.
No, but remember too, though, he still has the red potion. So, and I'm sure he's deciding, you know what, I'm going to save that for when I fight Trinex in case I need it.
Orange have slightly cleaned the execution here. Gets through the laser room here. Oh, Scruff takes a third death.
And I'm sure
Orange pulls ahead here in the dungeon.
And I'm sure Scruff is not enjoying the fact that he did all of that for a heart container.
Takes a swipe at the yellow spike, you know, just in case. Maybe it will die this time.
However, he is taking it easy with how he is making it over to Trinex. Ooh, and Orange, unfortunately, does take a death, but has a fairy.
I think that's his third death now that he's had a fairy revival on. So, bugnet value.
Right.
I think just having those fairies in the bottle is allowing him to just play a little more aggressively than he otherwise would. And if he knows if he takes death, then he's still going to be safe because you're just going to get revived anyway.
Scruff, however, is going to pop that red potion just in enough time.
And he's just going for sword swings on Trinex because he does have the Master Sword, whilst Orange, still being on Fighter Sword, is going for Hammer Strats. It's doing more damage, but it's a little bit riskier. But again, Orange has those safeties to play around with, so he can afford to be risky. Gets a mirror from Trinex. Do you want to go back to Mimic Cave?
That would actually be interesting if they decide to, because now they're gonna have to kind of jump around all the way back to Mimic Cave.
But do you really want to do it?
Probably not at this point for them.
Yeah, if you really wanted to do it, you can just go back there any other time. You've got a lot of other stuff to check out first. But going back to Mimic Cave, that is a big time investment. And what Orange is going to do instead is go to Spike Cave.
Right, because now at least with Mirror, the only thing we really need is our... Oh, and it was only one crystal. It was a 1-7 for GT. So I guess it's a little bit early, but chat, the B key can be anywhere between 1 to 22. Put your guesses in for our big key.
If you want to take a guess if Flipper's in here, do go ahead as well. What is that? Some kind of leaping thing.
Oh, and there we go. And the sprite loaded.
And then deloads.
So, by the way, since we're now in GT, what is your call? Because we've already had 2 polls.
I mean, it would be pretty. I think it would be pretty funny if flippers were to pop up in the big chest.
Right.
I've already seen big chest in GT.
But for the question for where our big key is, where do you think that may be?
I usually guess 19 because I like to see a full tour of Ganon's Tower mostly, but the real full tour here will be to check out that big chest. We've got an even medallion on the right side, and a fast shield, and a mirror shield.
So here are all of our shield upgrades. And by the way, Scruff, checking out Tile Room, which, if anyone knows me, my call is always 22 Tile Room. And the Tile Room...
He's definitely going for the low percent pessimistic plays here. I can't fault him for that.
You know what? I give a lot of credit to anybody who decides to actually do the Tile Room. Because that's a lot of time that you're investing in. You know, at the very least, you're giving people a show. Our big key, by the way, was found by Orange. And that was chest number 6, 7.
No, I'd probably be seeing him continue in the tower because grabbing another sword would be nice, especially considering he's only on fighter sword because he hasn't done the smith chain. So he's going to be looking for swords, silver arrows, and flippers. We need some flippers. Potentially also a bomber's medallion, but 1 in 3 chance that we actually need a bomber's medallion. And
just throwing it out there too, we actually did have someone who guessed 8 reverse. Congratulations, you have won internet dollars, which only last, you know, the moment I stop talking. So congratulations. Well, now with this early way into GT, our runners are most likely just going to clear everything out with both sides, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see them literally clear out the entire bottom of GT.
If flippers can be here, you got to clear the entire bottom of GT to look for flippers. So they could be anywhere that's not a water location. So they can't be in Ice Palace and they can't be in Swamp Palace. But anywhere else is pretty much fair game.
Right, we could have flippers over in Misery Mire. Because we don't need flippers in order to get into Misery Mire. We just need the right medallion for it.
Yep. We also have Desert Palace access to, thanks to having the mirror.
Orange going to check out that big chest. And only giving us a bundle of sticks.
And that Hinox there turned into a bunch of black snake things. Getting some weird sprite glitches in here.
Which, mind you, that does happen with Randomizer. Sometimes you do get some weird spike glitches and sprites seem a little bit weird. If your sprite in the dungeon actually does seem a bit weird, once you leave the dungeon, your sprite will return to normal.
And GG is pretty famous for spike glitches anyway, thanks to having Bob in that room there. But Bob today looks like he was a Goya, and that Goya was kind of shifting between a skull pot and a half magic file.
Orange making nice work of those Armos over there.
And hey, yeah. Look, Flippers and GT.
Flippers were behind our Armos Knights.
And considering he needs to clear GT anyway to get to Ganon, Orange is on his way up.
And at this point, even though you can't beat Ganon, you might as well at least open up the door.
Yeah, Fighter Sword climb is particularly rough because normally in a regular seed you would be desperately hoping for a Master Sword to pop up here. That's not going to be the case for Orange. If he gets a Master Sword or Tempered Sword here, great, but if he doesn't find anything, that's fine. He's got the Fire Rod and he's got the bow to take care of enemies here otherwise.
Right, although it would be really nice to see if, in fact, Orange just gets silver hours here.
Yeah, doing a GT climb right now is, if you do get like swords and arrows on your raid, and you still get value out of them for the rest of the seed, so it's really not that bad actually.
No, it was really nice and advantageous because, them clearing it out allowed both of our runners to get their flippers.
We got a couple of questions in chat asking where our swords were. Our first sword was on the uncle in the escape sequence, so we are saying that this was probably a casual setting because we had that sword on uncle. And we also had a second sword on the blacksmith for which only Scruff Ninja Tuner has done.
And none of our runners have checked Pyramid Fairy because they are missing. Well, rather, actually, Orange could go and check afterwards our Pyramid Fairy, but Scruff needs to go ahead and beat Pod in order to do that.
Really good. Now, I reckon Orange, after he's done with GT here, will probably be fluting over to Maya as soon as possible and seeing what medallion he needs for that. If you can get into Maya, great. Just go clear Maya and hope you get a sword along the way with your incidental checks. It's going to be kind of a pseudo go mode for him, sword go mode for him, and he's very likely to not be going out of his way for like extremely lengthy checks for a, say like the Maya cutscene chest for sword. It's possible he will go for them though, but I reckon considering there's a lot of swords in the pool, 3 more swords to grab, he'll just be trying to grab one from more convenient checks. Because he only needs 1 sword for go mode if he can get into Maya.
Scruff having a hard time with our little room over there with people running into him, flipping the switch, and
Orange was kind of chasing a rat round in circles there on the ice tile floor.
and unfortunately missed the 1 cycle on Lamos, which in this room can be a little bit hard because you are getting shot at the same time. But manages to pull it off. So now continues up our way.
Scruff's going for Ether strats here. Quick medallion to use. He's got half magic, so it doesn't cost him too much magic, and now he can just safely kill everything in here. And he realizes that all these enemies can actually just be one-shot with a hookshot, so he's just using the hookshot instead. Probably quicker. And that's a particularly inconvenient Goria for Orange, but luckily it's just a regular one, so he's just going to swipe a sword at it and get it out of the way, because he's only got 1 arrow left. He doesn't really want to be spending that on the single Goria.
Right, save the little bundle of sticks. Scruff now going to go after the Lamos. Well, I mean, any stick is going to be worth it for him now.
Okay, so up here in the top of GT, we have 20 rupees and another 20.
And we have 2 more chests left that we could have a useful item. So we have bombs, and then after we fight Boldorm 2.0, we can check Hope Chest. Or rather, what I like to call Hope Chest, because that's the last chest within GT, and you hope you find something good.
many-eyed beast has been slain. And that's a Cane of Burner.
I mean, that's going to be pretty nice. There's both of our invincibility items. Ooh. And we got red mimics over here, which are very annoying, but Orange makes his way through and now gets to go play Geometry War. And
Looks
now
like
we
that
have
was just a single.
actually, it looked like 2 hits. 1.
Alternate blue ball there, guaranteeing the single.
Another single right there, just based on where he was. And there's 3, yeah. So he was 2-1-1-3.
Okay, nice kill.
Ruff, unfortunately, getting once again transformed into another little Goomba.
Yeah, jumping back a console generation every time he gets hit by a bunny beam. Orange has opened up the pyramid, but he's not going to be diving in because you need 7 crystals to fight Ganon this time.
Right. And on top of that, too, looks like he may be going back for some potions. I mean, you know, with 1700, he might as well. Or it could be diving now Swamp Palace.
And like I said, he's going to go to Mizumai immediately and check if he is in pseudo-go mode or not. And that's Bombers. He's not in go mode. Okay.
Scruff defeating Trolldorm too.
So Orange is going to be checking pretty much everything he can to find both a Bomber's Medallion and extra swords. And that is a powder and a blue potion. Anyway, he definitely doesn't need to go to the shop now to spend money. He's got a red potion, a blue potion, and a fairy. But yeah, we could be seeing Orange dive into Desert Palace now. That is quite likely because we are going to need a Bomber's Medallion and, for Orange's case, 1 more sword. We know where second sword is, but Orange doesn't know it's on the blacksmith chain, so he's going to be looking for that too. He actually jumps off a ledge though.
By the way, Scruff hitting 3, 2, and then I'm sorry, 3, and then it looked like possibly a 1. And now Agad 2 is dead for Scruff Ninja.
Okay, Orange jumps down, got bullied a bit by Lionels and lag here in the desert. Saw those 10 hours on the desert. Let's going to check out the Gina. I think he'll probably just be fluting back to the portal ledge and going back into Dark World again and then going into desert. I don't see him skipping desert for items right now. Unless he chooses to go to a... Oh no, he can't get into Mizumaya. That's his. That's one of his remaining crystal dungeons, and he can get into Swamp Palace because he's got the flippers now, and he takes the save and crit. So this looks like it's going to be Swamp Palace for him.
Scruff looking like he was checking out just to make sure the fact that it was 7 crystals and that his eyes didn't deceive him last time. But with that being said, we'll probably. Hopefully, after checking Hobo, we'll tie in both Pod and Eastern together, which will get him his other 5-6 crystal, and we'll get him Eastern, which is another crystal, and Flute as well.
Yeah, after Orange finishes Swamp Palace, if he hasn't grabbed a Bomber's Medallion and another sword, he's in a real good spot to go do Pyramid Fade and go over to Desert Palace, clear that out. Then I guess he would go over to Ice Palace and do that because he's got both items out of Skull Woods.
Right, because at that point you might as well try it. You know, there's a lot less time checking Pyramid Fairy versus having to jump around to Ice Palace. Because let's be honest here, if we can avoid Ice Palace, let's avoid it at all costs.
And we've seen Orange do Checkerboard Cave. He could route in the cave south of Grove or K45 on his way to doing Pyramid Fae as well. Graveyard Ledge is a little out of the way for him, but he could choose to go for that quickly before going into dungeons. We'll see. But there are a lot of chests here in Swamp Palace, and checking out that left side of Swamp Palace is going to be quite a bit quicker for Orange, thanks to the Diver Down glitch, which we'll probably see him pull off here.
Right, and as another commentator always likes to say too, if you're having a hard time finding any of the swords, there's almost guaranteed to be one in Swamp. And from at least my experience, that's almost always true.
My personal anecdote is never swords in Swamp Palace.
Really?
Yeah, Vando gonna Vando. I have a high inclination for swords in GT over swords in Swamp Palace. Pretty frequently myself, I've grabbed 2 swords in GT.
It looks like Scruff, by the way, is going to go get his blue mail upgrade. Which I don't
bit of a time
blame him
investment for him. Yeah, definitely don't blame him. He's had a real rough time in this seed here. That blue mail will increase his defenses by 50%. It effectively doubles his life.
Orange looking like he's not going to skip out soon on any of the chests. Going to check basically all of them. And by the way, since we are past the 1 hour mark, I do want to give a shout out to not only our runners, Orange and Scruff Ninja, putting on a great show for us, but I would also like to say thank you to our tracker today, Cyber Chow, for pushing all the buttons for us and making sure that us commentators are, keeping on top of everything. So please give a follow to our runners and also to our tracker. And once again, thank you, Ocelot, for being here today as well.
It's my pleasure. And shout outs to our tracker again. Keeping us on track. If it wasn't for that, I probably would have forgotten what our 5-6 crystals were already. So I wouldn't be talking quite so much about Pyramid Fae because I'm like, what were the dungeons again? So yeah, Owen's trying to do the diver down glitch here. That moving spike is giving him a lot of issues right now, getting in the way. Okay, pulls it off this time.
Right, and it looks like Scruff is going to go ahead and say, you know what? We're doing Ice Palace. I am taking the gamble to do Ice Palace.
Oh yeah, he's taken so many deaths in this seed that he's just going for the gambles just to try and get that edge. But he's so far behind now that right now there may be people ahead of Orange. We don't know that. We don't have the everybody's stream on hand. Obviously, we've just got the 2 runners here for your viewing pleasure. But considering that Orange is going to be finishing off his last remaining crystal dungeon that he can do fairly shortly, you've got to be expecting people to be going into Ice Palace right now on their regular clears of the seed anyway, after they've done all the crystals they can. So this gutsy play into Ice Palace to try and get an edge, it can't really give an edge to Scruff Ninja Tuna at this point. I think he's just going for the spiteful hundo now. I mean, he's taken like 3-4 deaths now, I think.
He's taking definitely a couple. But Orange has also been showing us too that Swamp Palace really hasn't had anything for us just yet.
Tries to open up with a big chest, but no big key. You can see Scruff Ninja Tuna do an icebreaker here. So he's going to position himself and then use a Samaya block to clip himself through the barrier here. And Forker needing to do a bomb jump and a lot of other routing in Ice Palace. I love this glitch.
This can be, for anyone who's trying this glitch, it can be definitely a tough glitch to try out for your first time. As always, practice. But there are a lot of videos out there, some made by some of our runners, who give us a bunch of how-to videos. So, feel free to check them out. You can find some of those people too on Speed Gaming's Discord, as well as the ALTTP Discord as well.
I'd say right after this, Gruff would go and do Desert Palace just out of pure spite and then go pull the pedestal, but he doesn't have that fluid from Eastern Palace, so he's going to be forced to go over and get a crystal first before he can do a pedestal clear.
Oh, yeah. So he's going to have to do that, and I think after this, Orange really doesn't have that many choices left about what he can actually do, so it's either going to be doing some checks or clearing out some dungeons.
Yeah, like I said, he's probably going to go over to K45 after this and do a Pyramid Fae, and then, yeah, he could well head into places like Ice Palace himself or Desert Palace. We're having a little bit of trouble with that last R guy on Argus. Luckily, he has got a ton of safeties, though. So, again, he's not too concerned about his health. He's got that fairy to top up on, and he's got 2 potions, I believe. There's a chain chomp.
Oof.
Finally, we see a chain chomp, and it keeps quite nicely out of the way, unless you were doing an Ice Palace clear where you didn't do Icebreaker.
And Orange having a little bit of a hard time with the boss in Swamp Palace, but is able to actually finally beat it.
I saw him pick up a map. I don't know if he picked up a compass, so I'm not sure if there is an item still in the big chest. Yeah, he's going back in. There's still an item in the big chest. Scruff dives down to Cold Stare, breaks open that ice cube with his half magic fire rod, uses his remaining shots on the Cold Stare puffs here, and he has got the Master Sword, so this isn't Fighter Sword Cold Stare, which is completely awful.
Right, but he also does have 2 blue potions. Using one of them now, which is just going to make this fight easier.
And then he just goes back to spamming fire rod shots, so good usage there. Grabs a compass.
Like our Swamp Palace doesn't give us anything good. I mean, mind you, a crystal is good, but it doesn't give us bombos.
Yeah, this is a slightly higher value pendant clear for Scruff Ninja Tuner because that was the green pendant, so he can hand it in on his way to Eastern Palace and Pod.
So this will be interesting to see if we have Sword on Pyramid. That means that, at least from my knowledge, it is most likely the fact that our last sword is actually on pedestal.
Can there actually be a settings for vanilla swords in Rando? Because I was not aware of one.
There is a setting for vanilla swords in Rando.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
And if it is, then oof. That means that would give enough detail for us to know that it's vanilla. For Orange, it's going to be one of those maybe, maybe not. And it is. We have vanilla swords. So that means our final sword is going to be on pedestal.
And super nice red mail pickup too. So we could be seeing Scruff Ninja Tuner with a cold sword.
Ooh, but our green pendant gives us bombos. We are in no mode.
Indeed we are. Fortunately, Scruff Ninja Tuner is so far behind, it's really not going to help him get a edge here. But yeah, Orange is going to have to head over to Ice Palace and get that green pendant.
Right, but that also depends on how long it's going to take Orange to go through to Ice Palace.
And he's worked out it's vanilla swords because he's going straight over to Blacksmith to pick up his tempered sword. Definitely faster than doing Ganon with Master Sword.
Oh, yeah. And actually, from Master Sword up to Tempered, that does have the highest increase in damage output. Not to say that Tempered Sword obviously is not as strong as Butter Sword, but the damage output between Master Sword to our Tempered Sword is higher in a change value.
Anyways, Mr. Scruff Ninja Tuna is finally doing Eastern Palace. He is going to get his fruit from the big chest here.
And at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if he just starts diving around, because realistically, he knows he has all the items that he needs in order to get in or do anything. He just doesn't realize the fact that, or maybe he does, the fact that he's in go mode. Orange, however, getting the Tempered Sword, and going to be the first of our runners to get the Tempered Sword.
Yep. Does not know where Bombers is, so is doing things like Hammer Pegs and Magic Bat still. Now, Ice Palace being the green pendant and being pretty quick with the Icebreaker glitch, I reckon we could be seeing Orange heading there pretty shortly. Probably, maybe seeing him do K45 and Graveyard Ledge first, but I don't think it's... He doesn't have too much to do. It's going to be pretty... It's not going to be very long until he heads into Ice Palace.
Right. You know, he's got the chance for Ice Palace. And then whether or not he does the full clear, that's all up to him. But it looks like he's going to just finish up some of the fetch quests, which makes sense.
Yeah, he can root in K45 with the purple chest here. And that kind of isolates Graveyard Ledge, and he's also got Spike Cave to do as well. I don't think we've seen Spike Cave at all. So
yeah, no,
I don't think it's likely he... Yeah, I don't think it's likely he'll do Graveyard Ledge and Spike Cave before Ice Palace, but there's a chance he'll do them.
Which would be nice for Scruff Ninja Tuna, and it won't actually get him back up to be at the same time, but it'll definitely help close that time gap.
Yeah, if Scruff has worked out its vanilla sword, he can go get a tempered sword on his way to Ganon, or possibly sooner. He has got to do Pass of Darkness first, so we could see him do Pyramid Fairy before, after Misery Mine and Storm Pass, and he'll get his tempered sword, if he has worked out its vanilla swords.
Right, and it looks like, by the way, at least from Orange, we are going to see the chest abandon glitch, which is kind of nice, saves a lot of time. What you basically have to do is you can leave the chest out in the dark world, and as long as you get to the man looking for the chest, you're within 1 pixel of him, you can turn it in. You just can't move.
Orange, what are you doing? You don't have book.
Orange does have book. Book was on K45.
Was it? Oh, I've completely missed it. Okay.
Which, unfortunately, for Orange, does mean that he's going to do maybe a couple more checks before he dives Ice Palace.
Yeah, that does make Spike Cave more of an enticing play for Orange, because now he's got Ether Tablets rooting as well. But nope, he's going Ice Palace.
Yep. So he's going to jump over to Ice Palace, and most likely, Scruff Ninja Tuna is just going to be, once he gets a key, may just ignore everything else that is here in Pod, which is what I'm hoping that he does.
I totally ignored that book in K45 because I just assumed it would be nothing. But yeah, we never saw book, and it just popped up there.
Well, let's be honest here. Usually when you see book, you kind of ignore it, only because, at least for these runners, it's not the thing that you need. You know, you just kind of move on. Scruff, however, getting that 1 key that he needs in order to get to Helmasaur, and is just going to move on.
Yeah, he's heading straight to the boss, not taking any time to check for souls or silver arrows from the many, many chests in Eastern Palace. He had access to that chest behind the bomb wall, but he did not actually go for it because he knows he's in go mode. So let's hope he's worked out its vanilla swords and gets that sword from Pyramid Fairy. Because getting a tempered sword from Pyramid Fairy is way faster than doing Master Sword Ganon.
Oh, nobody wants to do Master Sword Ganon, let's be honest here.
And it would have been really nice if Silver Arrows popped up there too, but Red Mail, I'll definitely take that.
Orange setting himself up also for an Icebreaker.
Yes, Gruff was struggling with this before. Let's see if Orange is able to pull this off a bit quicker. I know I've practiced Icebreaker a lot because I'm even more terrible at the Ice Palace bomb jump. I cannot do the Ice Palace bomb jump, and Orange gets it done in pretty much 1 try. Real nice. But this is a glitch that I definitely need to learn and master myself because it's so much nicer than doing the bomb jump.
Right, and on top of that too, another thing to note about Icebreaker is normally you'll see runners who just automatically, if they don't get it on the first try, they just completely reset themselves to tackle it on again. There are videos out there showing from some of our runners that you can actually still in that state salvage your Icebreaker.
Yeah, I am pretty imprecise with my D-pad movements, so stuff like bomb jumps and icebreaker and diver down are fairly problematic to me because I can't get my positioning down right. I'm too old and tired for this game. That's why I commentate it.
Oh, it's fine because I can never do hover. Can never hover. Nope. No matter how hard I try.
I don't think I would have been able to hover no matter my age, but Scruff gets a nice Helmsaw King kill here, and that is his second 5-6 crystal, so let's see if he heads over to Pyramid Fairy.
He actually may not. What he may do is the same thing that Orange did, and immediately go over to Swamp Palace, and then after Swamp Palace, probably will loop in the 5-6 crystal.
Yeah. He's actually going to Sanctuary. Okay, where's he heading to? He's going to flute.
Ooh, are we going
Maybe
to
he's
actually
doing a
head
help
into...
topper.
We actually may head into...
Oh, he needs to activate his flute. Yeah, I completely forgot. Because we saw Orange grab this like 15 minutes in.
Right, because Scruff actually looped in both Eastern Palace and Pod.
And Orange just basically did Eastern Palace right after his South Shore checks because he already had that bow and lamp. It was basically free clear for him.
Yep.
Orange actually going in for an upgrade here.
Right.
He's grabbing more arrows.
It's a nice thing because at that point, he doesn't have to hunt for arrows. He gets a 35. And to top it off, too, if he decides to use them for some of the eyes on Vitreous, he does have some extra arrows to use.
Oh, yeah. So not a bad call there going for the arrow upgrade, but he's going to hand in his green pendant now, and he is going to enter go mode pretty shortly.
Yep, and Scruff is now going ahead into Misery Mire, and it's just going to race over to the back. So our two runners are actually going, pretty well neck and neck with each other. Swamp Palace has been the only thing that Scruff has to do, and if he didn't have those deaths and that time loss, these guys would probably be neck and neck.
Yeah, I would definitely want to head into Tempered Sword into Misery Mire with a Tempered Sword myself. So unfortunately, Scruff hasn't gone for that. So hopefully he does go for it at some point. Now, actually, with the Tempered Sword and having that cape, Orange actually doesn't really need all those arrows. He could just do cape dash strats through Vitreous and kill off all these small eyeballs that way. So he didn't really need that arrow upgrade, but he was right there. It doesn't really cost him much time to go for it anyway.
It doesn't cost him much time. It helps him reset and actually get his arrows back instead of having to find them. And let's be honest,
was he on low arrows before?
Yeah, he only had like 5 arrows before.
Okay, yeah. Makes total sense that he'd get a top up there.
And it's 100 rupees, and he was sitting at 1,700. That's nothing.
Yeah, and he's not really been using his potions because he's just been going through a country's worth of fairies instead.
Right, who needs potions when you have fairies, except, maybe a green potion would be nice.
I mean, sure, but we've also have magic, so his magic hasn't really been a threat here either.
Right. Now the question is, where is the big key?
Well, considering this is a go mode Mire, and we've seen Ninja Tuna do this chest already, it's not going to be a God Mire. So it's probably going to be cutscene chest because that's what always happens in go mode Mire. Except it's not, because it's random.
I mean, it could be vanilla chest. And with a lot of the runs, at least, that I've either commentated or viewed beforehand, usually does end up being vanilla big key chest for some odd reason.
Oh,
But
what
it's
is that big
not.
key?
It's actually through torch. Okay.
Yeah, and that's not a terribly bad big key because you can just go through the rooms up here to warp straight over to where you need to use it.
Right.
So Orange actually being second one in the dungeon, but first to grab the big key because Scruffness Tuner takes time for a couple more checks. But he grabs this big key and now he's on his way to the boss. And he's only got 10 hours, so and of course he's still on that Master Sword, so he's going to have a bit of a tougher time with Vitreous here. Irons attempts to get a little bit spooky here in the bottom of Missing Maya and doesn't pull it off. I assume that Stalfos blocking his Farod shot was what did it because it looks like the Stalfos blocked his Farod shot, but the Crystal Switch was hit anyway, so I'm guessing that cleared spooky action. But spooky action is not a glitch. It's a glitch I keep forgetting how to execute, really, so could you fill us in? Could you fill me in on that a bit?
So I am not 100% with the spooky glitch. What I do know is that it does take precise. So how it actually works is it takes a precise pixel for Hurricane of Samaria. Then what ends up happening is when you actually use and move up and down with your fire rod, it will actually go ahead and trigger the block to essentially what it would be shoot, but since it's off screen but still registered as a block, you can do it multiple times.
Now we saw Owen Scruff Ninja Tuner do a couple tries there to do spooky action and did pull it off. And Professor Vendra in Twitch chat tells us that apparently because Owen's used powder, that breaks the spooky action state.
All right, it's the spooky. I have to actually, just like you, I have to learn that one as well.
Oh, I keep learning how to do it and then forgetting. I think I've been told it about 4 times now.
That's definitely. I still have yet to give it a good solid attempt, to be honest with you. But Orange, with now Misery Mire being done, is going to go for his Ganon fight.
And Scarf Ninja Tuner, having just that Master Sword, but the cape and a spare Plute Potion, just goes for sword spam there on the Vitreous. If you're spamming a sword and swinging it, you don't actually consume magic on the frames where you're swinging your sword, so you preserve a lot of magic that way. So Scarf Ninja Tuner does a lot of swipes, but takes down Vitreous without too much trouble.
Right, and at this point, Scruff still has to go through his Swamp Palace. And then once he goes through Swamp Palace, he will be perfectly ready to fight Ganon. And actually, it was a pretty good call for him to set up for Swamp Palace, because at least how he's concerned in his current routing, he can do Swamp Palace, finish that up, go to Pyramid Fairy to get his Tempered Sword, and then move on to Ganon.
If he remembers, or realizes it is vanilla swords. He could just choose to skip the Pyramid Fairy because it's a low % chance he's going to get a sword there. We'll see. But first, we've got Orange dealing with Ganon here, and having that Tempered Sword, it's going to be a pretty clean Ganon for him.
Right, between that Temper Sword and also having half magic too. It just all comes down to, Ganon, how many times are you moving in this current phase? And luckily enough for him, Ganon is staying pretty consistent and not moving all too often.
Silver Azra in the Dark World somewhere.
So where didn't we check where it was actually Dark World? That's the question.
Spy Cave?
Actually, Spy Cave would be considered. Would it be considered, or would that be considered Dark Death Mountain?
It's definitely Dark Death Mountain because you don't need to like walk into
Yeah.
the night world for it.
Actually, chat's points it out.
It could, oh yeah, Mimic Cave too, because we didn't see that. That was we got a mirror from Trinex, and nobody decided to go back to Mimic Cave because that is long.
Right, but Mimic Cave is
Oh
technically
yeah, it's Light World. Yeah, yeah.
So Dark World, it could be Spike Cave. And actually, that is it for Orange. Orange has beaten Ganon, and has finished now. Once he crosses this little 1x3 bridge and does not fall, because he would have to start the fight over again. We'll finish at about 1 hour, 45 minutes, and 19 seconds, placing him first for all of our runners. Let me see some GGs in chat.
Real nice execution by Orange. Super nice plays with all the fairies there, just allowing him to be aggressive and also play safe at the same time. And a great first place finish for him. He also leaves a comment, at least Escape was deathless.
Scruff now, by the way, heading to the bottom of Swamp Palace, is doing the diver down glitch.
Just behind Orange was Shibu, finishing in second place with a time of 1 hour, 45 minutes and 46 seconds. Also leaving comment, if it wasn't for the thing. We did have a couple of forfeits before the Oranges finished too. A few complaints about Randomizer coming in. So this was a very, very mean Randomizer to begin with. And as we saw on Scruff Ninja Tuner's side, it killed him a lot. Especially in that escape sequence. I think that was what really started doing poor Scruff Ninja Tuner in for the rest of his seed. But we'll see if Orange is going to join us for an interview shortly.
Right, I think that Lionel, that first kill from the Lionel kind of set him down a little bit.
It sets a precedent for the seed, really.
Right. But once again, it's kind of tough when you have Randomizer, especially overworld Randomizer. And joining us here in the booth is Orange. Orange, GG's.
GG.
So, how'd you like that overworld Randomizer?
It's not the worst I've seen.
But a Lionel right in the back of Escape.
I can't believe I got through that deathless.
That makes one of you, because unfortunately, Scruff did not get through that deathless.
Usually, if you get both Randomizer and Standard, then you can pretty much expect to die several times in the back of Escape.
Yeah, to begin with, we were calling this was a casual seed because we had that sword on the uncle, but you had the correct foresight to realize it's vanilla swords. You can just go get a third sword from Pyramid Fairy. So, super good knowledge there.
It was? I thought Uncle was supposed to be actually holding the sword if it was vanilla swords.
Oh, no, we saw Scruff Ninja Tuner get his second sword from Blacksmith, so it's vanilla swords.
Oh, dear.
Either that or we're dealing with some crazy RNG here.
Oh no, this is, I bet you once we go to the end of, since Orange is thankfully showing us the credits, we will be able to confirm whether or not it was vanilla swords.
It is probably going to say it.
And that's just based on from where we found the first sword being on Uncle, and as soon as I saw the second sword was actually pulled directly from the Smith chain that Scruff did, I said, okay, well, we may have vanilla swords. Then Pyramid Fairy just showed, at least on my opinion, yes, we do have vanilla swords.
Yeah, the fact that Uncle wasn't physically holding the sword really threw me off.
So overall for that run, what did you like what were some of the things that kind of drove you a little nuts?
My Armos Knights fight.
The one in GT or the one that you did over in Eastern?
The awful one in Eastern.
You know, I'm going to be a little bit fair with you, Orange. I have seen you do a little better with that fight, but you still got through it. You still did it.
I played that seed super, super safe, grabbing fairies whenever I could.
Right.
Checking, being very thorough with my checks.
I mean, let's be honest here, though. Those fairies, you know, thank goodness you got them when you did.
Seriously.
Because I know, for example, Scruff did not get the net, or rather did not pick up the net. So that was definitely, you know, heading in to go into pod, the way that you didn't just make sure you have the fairies for Helmasaur. On top of that, too, most of the seed you were running with Vanilla Sword, so, you know, running in with just the single fighter sword that's hard enough to begin with.
I mean, if I had realized, oh, hey, it's actually Vanilla Sword, even though Uncle isn't holding a sword, I would have gotten Master Sword off the Smiths a long time ago.
Right, but I think that was one of the things where, you know, it's a little bit harder, and I think you really didn't put it together once you got the sword on Pyramid Fairy that, you know what, the other one, the Tempered Sword, is probably on the Smiths.
The real reason I did the Smiths is because I was looking for bombos.
Oh. See, I sat here and I said, okay, well, you know, he probably went to Smiths because he's realizing the fact that it's Vanilla Swords. But hey, listen, I mean, either way, it's done, you know. And it only worked out in your favor, because let's be honest here. We would all much rather do the Ganon fight with a Tempered Sword than Master Sword.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and the fairy was nice enough also, not only to give you a sword upgrade, but to give you red mail as well.
I was kind of screaming inside when I saw that Ganon hint.
The Dark World.
It was in Spike Cave.
Yep.
I was like, I was going to go do Spike Cave if I could not get into GT. And it turns out it was only one crystal. And I was like, okay, I gotta go in and look for flippers or maybe another sword because I didn't realize it's not vanilla. I mean, it's Vanilla Swords.
Right. And, you know, it's one of those things too, because as soon as you got flippers, it's like, okay, well, now let's go to Swamp Palace because that, you know, it's in my route. I can go ahead and do that.
But first I had to check Meyer to see if I could even get in.
Right.
Because if I could, then I was just gonna go mode Swamp.
You have to cut you off a bit there because Scruff Ninja Jr. has just finished in third place overall with an official time of 1 hour, 52 minutes and 11 seconds. He's had a real rough time this seed, but he honestly didn't finish really that far behind you, so GG's to him. We'll see if he wants to join us for an interview as well because he's been having a hell of a time in this seed.
Scruff, GG, man.
GG.
Oh, he's here already. GG.
I was sad to see that I wasn't the only goober that decided to galaxy brain the locations.
Well, yes, and let's be honest here that this seed wasn't nice to you.
Mm-mm. Anytime you have vanilla swords on an Randomizer, it's never nice.
You know, between that and then, as I was, you know, asking Orange earlier, that Lionel that's in the back of Escape.
That Lionel was so great to find. And Orange, how in the world did you not die to that thing?
I would much rather deal with a Lionel than a giant spiky ball of death.
I don't know. Lionels are kind of unpredictable. At least the giant spiky balls of death go one of 4 directions.
I kind of treat them like the... have you ever played Doom Eternal? I kind of treat them like Marauders, just kind of keep your distance and bait them into it hitting you. With Lionels, I just kind of bait them into hitting me with fireballs.
Gotcha. When did you realize it was vanilla swords?
When when the credits said a Force Sword was on Ped.
Yeah. I was super tempted to actually blind pull Ped, but because Flute was my go mode, I was like, no, I can't justify that. That was about the same time that I saw you finish, so I was like, nah.
Right. And actually, Scruff, when was the idea for you that vanilla swords was a thing?
The first hint is always Uncle. If he's not carrying a sword, but he gives you one, that's a big indicator that you are on vanilla swords. Second, Blacksmith. That's why I went straight to him as soon as I got the mitts. Whenever I do a mystery seed and I have an inkling that I've got vanilla swords, I check that first and foremost.
See, my thought process was, he's not actually holding the sword, so it's randomized swords. Oh, how wrong I was.
Well, I mean, the chances of him not actually having that is like very, very, very slim.
So another question that I do have to ask, why didn't you? And this is directed towards Scruff. Why didn't you pick up the net?
You know, I was asking myself that very same question as I was dying on Laser Bridge.
Yeah,
And climbing GT.
Orange took about 4 fake deaths throughout this run, but he had fairies to revive him every time.
See, that would have been the wise thing to do.
I played this seed super safe.
Oh, I didn't. I'm curious to see how many deaths I've got. Hold on.
It was actually kind of interesting watching the two of you go back and forth on things because I mean, Scruff, you were trying some pretty early gambles to go ahead and see whether or not like you would make it out on top. And unfortunately, those gambles this time didn't pay off. But all the checks that you did, Orange also ended up doing before going to Ice Palace to get Bombos.
Yeah,
I was
Bombos
so
my
happy
go
to see
mode.
that. I cannot believe how lucky I was to find that Bombos. I was thinking, it would be really funny if Myers' medallion was Bombos. Because no one's wanting to do green pennant ice.
Well, who wants to do ice if they don't have to? Let's just be honest here.
Exactly.
If you can avoid Ice Palace, even with Icebreaker, avoid Ice Palace. At least that's me, my personal opinion.
It was a god ice as far as Icebreaker goes.
Oh yeah, seriously. And I am totally ashamed that I did not get double-digit deaths. I need to redo.
But you know what? You guys had a really good run. It was a close run. Even with Scruff, even with all the deaths that you took, realistically, you guys were about one dungeon away from each other. By the time Scruff, you were going into Swamp Palace, Orange was making his way actually up to Ganon. So
Nice.
Yeah, you guys weren't that far from each other.
Orange, did you check Pyramid Fairy?
I did.
Oh, okay, cool. I was super surprised to see that red mail, but I knew for 100% that I was going to get that tempered. Yeah,
I'm still upset I skipped Spike Cave.
What
when
was
I
in
said-
Spy Cave?
Silvers.
Oh, dang, I didn't even realize.
Ganon hint. It was
Ganon-
literally my last location that would be considered Dark World.
Right.
Oof. Yeah, there's so much that I skipped. Almost every mirror location, all of Desert, like Mire, except for, the boss. It was nuts. But anywho, thanks for restreaming, tracking, and all this stuff. GG's, Orange. I got a bolt.
GG's,
because I
and
need to
thanks
go
for
do stuff.
everything.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Thank you
that was
guys
a fun
for
race.
thank you guys for everything, and thank you for coming on to restream. That was definitely awesome. Always fun to watch both of you race.
It's always my pleasure.
Same.
All right, so that about does it for today. Coming up here on the main Speed Gaming channel in about an hour's time, we have the Super Mario Odyssey bingo tournament. Triple bingo tournament. So that's coming up here in an hour on the main Speed Gaming channel. We've also got the Star Wars Episode 1 race tournament happening on Speed Gaming 2 starting just about now. And later on tonight on Speed Gaming 2, we also have if you want to see some more ALTTP mixed in with a little bit of Super Metroid. We have got at 9 p.m. Eastern the Super Metroid and Link to the Past Randomizer, the combo randomizer weekly race. So that's going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern. And we've also got the Metroid Prime Randomizer tournament happening on Speed Gaming 3 and the main Speed Gaming channel most of tonight. The first race for that will be in an hour's time on Speed Gaming 3. So that about does it for us tonight. I want to give a shout out to our tracker again, CyberKOX, for doing an excellent job tracking today. And shout outs to you, Esna, for excellent comms with me today.
Thank you very much, Ocelot. That it's really nice to come with you again. Just a quick reminder to everybody: if you liked what you saw, feel free to check us out on Speed Gaming on the Discord. Also, if you want to volunteer, either be a commentator or a tracker, feel free to hit us up at the Speed Gaming Discord as well. If you want to get into the randomizer and get into the randomizer community, the ALTTP Discord is also available. There are a bunch of great guys and would love to share you some of the secrets and the ins and out as well.
Absolutely. And final thanks to Speed Gaming for hosting the daily races as usual. And that would be us for today. So see you in the next race.
Take care, everyone.